When confirming the operation of your product, it is tempting to state that any software passing your testing regime is fully proven. But how effective is your testing? Does it ensure that your program correctly responds to every combination of input? Does it test every instruction in your expressions, every expression in your statements, every statement in your functions, and every function in your program? If not, you have only tested part of your code, and who knows how the remainder of your program will behave once it is released. Code coverage is a measure of the degree to which your program source code has been executed, and unless you can prove that your tests have been performed over all of the code in your program, those tests might be missing defects. It is impractical to use breakpoints or step through a program in a debugger to monitor which statements have been executed. There's simply too many statements in your program. And simply because you have seen your program reach a line of code does not mean that that line has been fully executed. For example, the C language not only allows, it actually stipulates that when expressions in a statement are logically ANDed together, the right expression must not be executed if the left expression evaluates to be false. So even though you might see your program reach such a statement, much of the code associated with it might not have been executed. Thus, you need an easier and more robust way to determine code coverage. Microchip now provides a code coverage solution to measure how much of your program's source code has been executed. When enabled by a special license, the code coverage feature in all of the latest Mplab Xc compilers automatically instruments your code with assembly instructions that, when executed, generate runtime data. This data can be used to verify that the corresponding source code has been executed. The compiler tool uses advanced algorithms to analyze your code structure and minimize the memory resources used by the instrumentation code, but without sacrificing the accuracy of the results. You can run and test your instrumented program on unmodified hardware and in the usual way, subjecting it to different input conditions and using breakpoints or other debugger features to control execution. The code coverage information produced while your program executes is stored on your device. When required, this data can be downloaded by a programmer and analysed by the MPLAB IDE, where you can view a summary of code coverage results for each program module or function. Execution of individual statements in your program is shown using highlights in the text editor, which indicate whether the lines of source were covered and executed, or covered but not executed. It also shows lines that were not covered, which might, for example, indicate that the code did not produce any executable code. Code coverage information, like that produced and displayed by Microchip's compiler and IDE tools, is important for anyone wanting to produce reliable code. With it, you can find deficiencies in your testing and validate the testing you do perform by confirming that all parts of your code have been executed during your test regime.